December the 9th, 2023. Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday here. We had rain yesterday and some sprinkles last night, and we're going to have a clear day today. If you look at central Mississippi, guys, right here, we're in this opening of sunshine. It's going to kind of fool a lot of people because the weather was reporting that we may see storms early today and going through tonight. But it looks like the rougher weather is going to start tonight, and we're going to look at a future cast radar before we're through the video. And let me point out something else. Here along New York and along the East Coast up through here, northeast coast, there is a wind current that is barely showing. You can see all this offshore movement. But right here is a group of clouds that are building, and they're going to start building wind into the northeast, guys. By Sunday night, you could be seeing hurricane force winds up to 85 miles per hour. That means power lines down. I hope you understand what I'm saying, because it's very cold air behind this. You're already getting snow right here. Look in the panhandle of Texas right there. That's snow, guys. So, and then here, let me turn around just one moment. I'm live at 8:12 a.m. I want to look at my weather station. It is 64 outside, 99% humidity with a real feel of 69. So that's going to change very quickly. Tomorrow highs are only going to be in the 50s here. And because of that clash, there's going to be tornadoes. I'm afraid we're going to have severe weather. And what's bad about it, the line is going to start coming up through the Gulf of Mexico at about as the sun is setting. And then by 11 p.m. tonight, there's going to be a major line of storms that move all the way from, it looks like, Louisiana. You see the moisture coming in around Galveston. That line moving all the way up through the Appalachians for quite a distance. And again, we'll look at some future cast on that. Now, changing this, look up to the northwest in the top left corner here. They've been talking about this atmospheric river, and we're seeing landslides in that area all the way up into Canada. But look at the amount of moisture, guys, that's coming in. It looks like some pretty strong weather. Upper elevations, I'm sure this will turn to snow. But if it's not snow, you better watch for mudslides and floods. You know how the highways are there, right on the side of the mountains a lot. What is that, Highway 1? Those things will come down. You'll come around a corner, and the road will be shut down, or the bridge will be washed out, or the road washed out. That's a lot of moisture. We've been talking about it, but now you get a pretty good visual on this. Notice the storms here coming out of northeastern Arkansas. This is what is going to start to build throughout the day, but it's going to get much worse than this. Now let's look at the water vapor loop. Again, the northwest in your top left corner. You can see the whiter it is, the more moisture is involved with it. Notice here in Texas, and in New Mexico, parts of Colorado, it's a different color. That's a temperature difference. And that's why I was showing you the snow coming down into the panhandle of Texas. So you're seeing that all along this area. Your colder air moving in. Still warm where we're at, but they're starting to feel it right here. You're coming up into Missouri, right there. You're about to get into Tennessee and Kentucky. You notice how cooler it is right behind this front that's coming in. So you're going to have to be careful. Now, right here is a boundary also, then that's what we went through yesterday and sprinkled last night for all you guys in the southeast. But this is about to change. This line right here, where it collides with the cold and the warm, is going to get very dangerous. One last look at this particular satellite image, and we're dealing with what's called the day cloud phase. Again, it's quite a lot of moisture keeps catching my eye for you guys in the northwest. Now that's going to move east and south southeast and behind the cold air. So it depends on how fast that cool air gets out of there. This dip that we're seeing in the center of the nation will depend on whether it's rain or snow. But I can't help be concerned about that. Let me say this while I'm thinking about it. They're having record heat wave in Australia. Possibly there's I guess you would call it a typhoon in that part of the world headed into that. That's not very normal for that section of our planet. I think what we've seen in the last couple of years, great changes like hurricanes in different paths totally going or and just stalling out in one area. We're seeing again the floods all across Africa. People are drowning. On parts of the world that do not get this type of weather is getting it, and we had record drought, and they're saying that 2023 will turn out to be one of the warmest summers on history or in history, and I have to agree with that. I lived in the South. It was terrible. Drought. We lost a lot. I've counted 15 pine trees in my front yard that are going to have to be cut down, completely browned out, and they're that way all across this area of the country that I know about. I'd love to hear from you guys about what the heat did. I know it was, we don't even have any grass now. Between the Huskies and the drought, it's pretty much pine, straw, and sand. But I'd like to hear how it is in your area. I know a lot of gardens were lost. I know there were a lot of people that had heat strokes. A lot of people died. The weather is shifting. I think it has something to do with the tilt of our planet has been shifting. Now, you've got two types of shifts, a magnetic shift and then a physical pole shift, different things, but they both have their own effects. When you have a magnetic pole shift, the physical Earth isn't tilting, but the weather patterns do because it's facing the sun and the solar winds at a different angle. You see what I'm saying? So as if you're sitting there and everything was true north, you would have where the auroras come in the north, and then the Australian auroras in the very south. But when the magnetic poles start to shift, we are dealing with a different angle in the solar wind. We may are also seeing some physical pole shift, and that would change the tilt. It would change the amount of daylight or sunlight you have in the winter and summer. It would change the weather patterns. And I've heard it was Pastor Arnold Murray has talked about in the past that at one time the seasons were all the same on our planet. After a couple chaotic events, everything's out of tilt now. And that's why we're seeing the storms and the havoc. We're told that we would see this type of events in the end time, right? Well, I think everything's starting to pick up. The tilt, the magnetic pole shifts, things like that. And that's why we're seeing these changes, guys. This has not been a normal, this year has not been normal at all, but the last several years, a completely different path of the hurricanes. What did we get? One that came up through Florida this year. Basically, that was it. That was enough, believe me. But we usually will see 3 or 4. Some get into the Gulf, some come into the East Coast. But the last few years, it's been slowly everything turning into the North Atlantic, almost everything. And these weather shifts have something to do with everything changing. And that what happens when you do that? Weather changes, earthquake patterns changes, all of those events, because you got everything shifting as far as how the solar winds are hitting our planet. But I think that's what we're seeing. Now let's look at the future cast. Now, taking a look at this map, we can advance this into the future. It's set right now for Saturday the 9th at 1 a.m. this morning, just after midnight. That would be East Coast time. And you can see where your moisture is here, the rain, some of your storms, guys, in Missouri right there. It looks like a little stormy weather. And then Denver, probably up around, I guess that would be south of Denver. Right here, you're getting the strongest sections of the snow there. And you've got the front bending here, and you've got the front bending back right here into Missouri. And all of that's going to shift all the way south. And notice the moisture that's being pulled in from the Gulf of Mexico. That's very warm air. That's why we're warm where we're at now, 61 in the central part of the state, in Jackson, 62 in New Orleans. Atlanta, you're a little cooler. You're a higher elevation, a little further north. But this wind offshore, guys, is going to start building up, and it's going to become very dangerous. So think about your batteries. If you lose power, and there's a good chance a lot of you guys along the coast are going to have some problems like this. So prepare now. Batteries, backup power, backup water. And, if your power's out, you can't go to the ATM. The stores are only going to be able to take cash if they're even open, if the power's off. Things like that. Be prepared. You've got today to get ready. Now, I'm just going to play it forward. We're moving down to 4 a.m., 5 a.m. this morning, 6 a.m., 8 p.m., 12 noon. Right there, it's 3 o'clock this afternoon. This thing is going to start to strengthen. And like I said, this calmer weather this morning in our area will throw you off if you're not aware. Also, notice this wind I've been warning about right here, starting to build up. All through there. There's Maine, down to New York, all the way through here. And really, it looks like it's going to build. You're going to see it off the beaches of Virginia here, Washington, D.C., but right here it looks like it's going to be concentrated, and there are very high wind warnings out. Now, let's just continue it for a couple of steps here. This is 12 p.m. You can see North Mississippi, you're starting to get some of this heavier weather. Be very aware of it. Off the coast of Charleston right there, winds are again concentrating. Let's keep going. 1 p.m., 2 p.m. this afternoon, 5 p.m. Strengthening here in Tennessee, up through Kentucky, into Ohio at that point. Winds are still continuing to build offshore here. Go forward, there's 6 p.m., 8 p.m. tonight. It's crossed the river for you guys in Louisiana and Mississippi. You're getting deep into East Tennessee, again, Kentucky, up into Ohio, and the thing is being compressed now between the warm air. You notice the arrows moving this way, the cold air moving this way. That's where we get those spin-ups. And I think I've heard one of the meteorologists mention that we really didn't get a break in severe tornado weather all of this year. In other words, it'll get bad and then we'll have a break, but we really didn't get that much of one. And I've seen some of the most powerful tornadoes in our area come through Jackson and Brandon, Mississippi. In late November, a lot of people get killed, a lot of damage to communities, things like that, because of this conflict of cold and warm air. Let's go through. We're at 8 p.m. there. We'll step it through. 11 p.m. right there. 2 a.m. Here's the danger. Mostly everyone will be asleep. And you can't see it at night, and if it's raining, it's a blind tornado. What I can tell you, because I've been in one, is you've heard it before. It sounds like a train coming down through your house. You can hear it coming. And so that may be your only chance of noticing it. But if you got your weather radios plugged in, charged, your batteries in them, on your phone, whatever apps you got there, all your warnings, in case you lose power. You'll still be able to get it through your phone or through the batteries in your weather radio. You may not be able to get any TV. So be prepared for things like that. It's nothing worse than being without power in very bad weather. Now just let it continue. Again, we're starting at 6 a.m. Sunday morning East Coast time. I'll just play through. See how it spreads out. Here's the cold air coming in behind it, right there. Atlanta, you just dropped to 37, building up here with all of that high wind. Look at this, guys. That's what I'm talking about. Straight line, hurricane force winds up to 85 miles per hour. That's going to be some damage up there. Don't be caught driving in it, and be prepared. Make sure your pets are well taken care of, and you have them sheltered inside so that they are not subjected to this. There's going to be limbs blowing down in your yards, everything you can imagine with a Category 1 straight line wind. So it's unusual for this time of the year, but things are changing. We're watching it, guys. I want to show you one other thing. Now, let's look at AccuWeather's model. Starts at 5 p.m. this afternoon, Eastern Time. Notice in your top left there, as we play it through 7:30 p.m. Check that out, guys. By 11 p.m., this thing is in full swing. Here's what they're saying. Up to 75 mile per hour storm max winds in our area, not just the Northeast, but it all will be moving that area. Hail, downpours, isolated tornadoes, localized damaging wind gusts 55 to 65 miles per hour. Remember, we got a lot of dying trees. This goes from Jackson up north of Nashville, all the way really to Kentucky. And then that's in the orange area. And this is for Saturday afternoon and tonight. And you can see where the more moderate sections of the storm are predicted to be. But, guys, you got to pay attention to this as it sweeps through Alabama and the Georgia and the Carolinas. But notice, this is just through tonight. All of this is going to be continuing to move tomorrow on Sunday. So be careful, everyone, to the north and east of this. We're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.